These triplets stand in court to defend their mother. Judge realizes he's the father who abandoned them. A billionaire worth $8 billion walks into a courtroom for a simple charity photo op. But when three strangers stand up to defend their mother, his blood runs cold. Those faces. He's seen them in the mirror his entire life. 26 years ago, he abandoned a pregnant woman. Today, he's staring at the children he never knew existed. And they have absolutely no idea who he is. What would you do if you discovered you had children you never knew about? Darius Holt found out in the worst possible way, watching them defend their mother in court against fraud charges he could have prevented. The billionaire who had everything was about to lose the family he threw away 26 years ago. This is their story. If this story doesn't make you cry and cheer at the same time, nothing will. Hit that subscribe button, like and share. And buckle up, you're about to witness the most incredible family drama ever. Also, tell me in the comments where you are watching from. The courtroom felt cold. Darius Holt straightened his expensive tie and checked his watch. He didn't want to be here. This was supposed to be easy. Show up, take some photos with kids, leave. Good publicity for his company. But something went wrong with the timing. Instead of a nice charity event, he was stuck watching a court case about some single mom in trouble. Darius pulled out his phone. He had important calls to make, deals to sign, money to count. His time was worth millions. He should just walk out. But he didn't move. The heavy wooden door opened. A tired-looking woman walked in with a cheap lawyer. She was maybe 45, with dark hair pulled back and clothes that screamed, "I shop at thrift stores." But something about the way she walked, head up, shoulders straight, made Darius stare. She looked familiar. Case number 2025-8847, the clerk called out. The State versus Selena Ward. The name hit him like a punch to the gut. Selena. His hands started shaking. 26 years. 26 years since he'd heard that name. 26 years since he'd run away from the woman he'd loved. The woman who'd begged him to stay. The woman he'd left behind when she told him she was pregnant. It was her. Older now, with lines around her eyes and gray in her hair. But it was definitely her. The prosecutor started talking about fraud charges. Something about lying to get government help. Darius barely heard the words. His heart was pounding too loud. Then the lawyer said something that made his world stop. The defense calls character witnesses Michaela Ward, Marcus Ward, and Matthew Ward. Three young people stood up. Triplets. Early 20s. They moved together like they'd been doing it their whole lives. And they looked like him. Same eyes. Same stubborn jaw. Same way of standing when they were determined about something. These weren't just random kids defending their mom. These were his kids. The kids he'd never met. Never held. Never even thought about when the guilt got too heavy. Darius felt like he couldn't breathe. The billionaire who controlled companies around the world was falling apart in the back of a small-town courtroom. His children were right there. And they had no idea who he was. What do you do when your biggest mistake walks into your life wearing the faces of the family you abandoned? Darius couldn't stop staring. His hands were sweating inside his $1,000 suit. The first triplet to speak was a girl, Michaela. She had his dark eyes but Selena's gentle smile. When she talked, her voice was strong and clear. Your Honor, my mom worked 3 jobs when we were little. She cleaned offices at night, served breakfast at a diner in the morning, and watched other people's kids in the afternoon. She never complained. Not once. The second triplet, Marcus, stepped forward. He was tall and lean, with the same stubborn jawline Darius saw in the mirror every morning. Mom taught us that family sticks together no matter what. When kids at school made fun of us for wearing secondhand clothes, she told us that our worth wasn't measured by what we wore, but by how we treated people. The third one, Matthew, had Darius's nose and Selena's way of tilting his head when he was thinking. She never told us who our father was. Just said he had to go away and couldn't come back. But she made sure we never felt like we were missing anything. Each word felt like a knife to Darius's chest. He remembered the night he left. Selena had been 19, scared, holding the positive pregnancy test with shaking hands. She'd looked at him with such hope in her eyes. "We can do this together," she'd whispered. "We can be a family." But Darius had been terrified. He'd grown up poor, watching his own mother work herself to death for people who treated her like dirt. The thought of being trapped, of never escaping that life, had made him panic. So he'd chosen his dreams over her love, his future over their family. Now, 26 years later, he was worth $8 billion. He owned companies on every continent. Presidents took his calls. His name was on buildings across the world. And he was the loneliest man alive. Watching his children defend the woman he'd abandoned, Darius realized something that made his stomach sick. Selena had raised 3 incredible kids while he'd been chasing money and power. She'd given them everything that mattered: love, values, strength, while he'd given them nothing. Not even his name. Michaela was still talking. "When I got sick with pneumonia in 5th grade, Mom slept in a chair next to my hospital bed for 6 days. The nurses tried to make her go home, but she wouldn't leave. She said that's what mothers do." Marcus nodded. "When I wanted to quit football because the other kids had better equipment, Mom worked extra shifts for 2 months to buy me cleats. Not fancy ones, but they were mine. She said dreams were worth the sacrifice." Matthew's voice cracked a little. "Last year, when I got into college but couldn't afford it, Mom was ready to take out loans she couldn't pay back. She said my education was more important than her comfort. That's when we found out she'd been skipping meals to save money for our futures." The prosecutor objected. "Your Honor, this is all very touching, but it doesn't change the fact that the defendant committed fraud." Judge Harrison, an older man with kind eyes, waved him off. "I'll allow it. Continue." Darius studied the judge's face. There was something about the way he looked at the triplets, like he knew them, like he cared about them. That's when Darius noticed the photos on the judge's desk. A woman who looked like Selena. Kids who looked like the triplets. His blood ran cold. Judge Harrison wasn't just any judge. He was family. Maybe Selena's brother? Her cousin? Someone who'd been there for his children when their real father had run away like a coward. The shame hit him so hard he could barely breathe. Selena finally stood to speak. Her voice was quiet but steady. "Your Honor, I won't lie to you. I made mistakes with the paperwork. When you're working 3 jobs and raising 3 kids alone, sometimes you mess up the forms. But I never took money I didn't need. Every dollar went to keeping my children fed, housed, and safe." She paused, her eyes finding each of her children. "These 3 are the best thing I've ever done. They're kind, hard-working, and honest. If taking care of them makes me a criminal, then I'm guilty." Darius felt tears he hadn't cried in decades burning behind his eyes. He'd spent his whole adult life running from the family he'd abandoned. But they'd been here all along, building something beautiful without him. Something real. Something he'd thrown away for money that couldn't buy him a single genuine relationship. Now the question wasn't whether he could afford to stay away. It was whether he could afford to keep running. What would you do if you realized you'd given up the most important thing in your life for something that turned out to be meaningless? Drop a comment and let me know, because Darius is about to face the hardest choice of his life. Judge Harrison leaned forward. "Ms. Ward, before I make my decision, is there anything else you'd like to say?" Selena shook her head. "Just that I'm sorry for the confusion with the paperwork. I'll pay back whatever you think is fair." "Mom, no." Michaela jumped up. "You didn't do anything wrong." "Sit down, honey." Selena's voice was firm but gentle. "It's okay." That's when everything went wrong. Darius's phone rang. Loud. The ringtone echoed through the quiet courtroom like a fire alarm. Every head turned toward him, including Selena's. For the first time in 26 years, their eyes met. Selena's face went white. She grabbed the table to steady herself. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Dad," Matthew whispered, staring at Darius with confused eyes. "No way," Marcus breathed. Michaela looked back and forth between Darius and her mother. "Mom." Who is that man? The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Judge Harrison banged his gavel. Order! Order in my courtroom! But Darius couldn't hear anything over the blood rushing in his ears. Selena was looking at him like she'd seen a ghost. Which, in a way, she had. He stood up slowly, his legs shaking. 26 years of running away, and it all ended because of a stupid phone call. Selena, he said quietly. Her name felt strange on his lips after so many years. You have some nerve showing up here, Judge Harrison said, his voice ice-cold. Darius looked at the judge in confusion. I'm sorry, do we know each other? David Harrison. Selena's older brother. The judge's eyes were full of hate. The brother who held her while she cried for months after you left. The brother who helped raise your kids when you were too much of a coward to do it yourself. The courtroom erupted. People were shouting. The bailiff was calling for order. Reporters in the back were taking pictures. But all Darius could see was Selena's face. She looked hurt, angry, scared, and something else he couldn't name. Mom, Michaela said again, louder this time. Is that our father? Selena's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. The word hit the triplets like a bomb. Marcus stood up so fast his chair fell over. That's him. That's the man who abandoned us. The one who left you pregnant and alone? Matthew's hands were clenched into fists. Michaela just stared, tears streaming down her face. He was here the whole time, watching us defend you, and he said nothing. Darius wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at him to get out of there, but his feet wouldn't move. I didn't know, he said weakly. I didn't know you'd be here. Liar! Marcus yelled. You knew exactly what you were doing. Judge Harrison, David, slammed his gavel again. Mr. Holt, you need to leave my courtroom. Now. Wait. Selena's voice cut through the chaos. Everyone stopped shouting. She stood up slowly, her eyes never leaving Darius's face. David, I need 5 minutes. Please. Selena, you don't owe him anything, David said. 5 minutes. Her voice was stronger now. Then he can go. The courtroom fell silent. Selena walked toward Darius, stopping just a few feet away. Up close, he could see the lines around her eyes, the tiredness in her shoulders. But she was still beautiful. Still the woman he'd fallen in love with all those years ago. Why are you here? She asked. I was supposed to observe a youth program. I had no idea. No. Her voice was sharp. Why are you really here? After 26 years of nothing, you just happened to show up today. Darius looked past her at the triplets. His children. They were staring at him with a mix of anger and curiosity that made his chest tight. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe I was supposed to be here. Selena laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think this is fate? You think the universe brought you here to make everything okay? I think I made the biggest mistake of my life when I left you. The words came out before he could stop them. Selena's eyes widened. The triplets exchanged glances. That's not good enough, Michaela said, walking over to stand beside her mother. You don't get to waltz in here with your fancy suit and expensive watch and think sorry fixes 26 years. She's right, Marcus added, joining them. You missed everything. First steps. First words. Birthdays. Christmases. Soccer games. Graduations. Everything. Matthew was the last to speak. You missed Mom crying herself to sleep when the bills were too high. You missed her working until her hands bled to keep us fed. You missed all of it. Darius felt like he was drowning. I know I can't fix what I did. But I'm here now. For how long? Selena asked. Until your phone rings again? Until some business meeting calls you away. Before Darius could answer, his phone buzzed with a text. His assistant reminding him about Tokyo. The triplets saw him glance at it. There's your answer, Marcus said with disgust. Darius looked at his phone. Then at his family. then back at his phone. For the first time in his adult life, he made a choice that had nothing to do with money. He turned off the phone and put it in his pocket. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. Have you ever had a moment where you had to choose between what was easy and what was right? Tell me about it in the comments, because Darius just made a choice that's going to change everything. Judge David stared at Darius for a long moment. You think turning off your phone makes up for 26 years? No, Darius said. But it's a start. We don't need you to start anything, Marcus snapped. We're fine without you. Are you? Darius looked around the courtroom. Your mother is facing fraud charges. You're all here fighting for her freedom. That doesn't sound fine to me. Selena stepped between them. Don't you dare use this against us. We've survived everything life threw at us. We'll survive this too. I'm not trying to use anything. I'm trying to help. With what? Money. Michaela's voice was bitter. You think you can just write a check and fix everything? Darius felt his temper rising. Money can pay for better lawyers. Money can. There it is, Matthew interrupted. That's all you know how to do. Throw money at problems. At least I'm offering something. We don't want your something, Marcus shot back. The bailiff stepped forward. Your Honor, should I escort Mr. Holt out? David looked at Selena. It's your call. Selena was quiet for a long moment, studying Darius's face. What kind of help? The best lawyers in the state. Private investigators to prove you didn't commit fraud. Whatever it takes. And what do you want in return? The question hung in the air like smoke. I want to know my children, Darius said quietly. The triplets exchanged looks. That's not how it works, Michaela said. You can't buy your way into our lives. I'm not trying to buy anything. I'm asking for a chance. 26 years too late, Marcus muttered. But Matthew was looking at him differently now. What if we said yes? What if we let you help Mom? Would you really stay? Or would you disappear again the first time things got hard? Darius met his son's eyes. I guess you'll have to find out. David banged his gavel. This courtroom is not family therapy. We have charges to address. He looked at Selena. Do you want a recess to discuss this with your family? Selena nodded. 30 minutes. Granted. Court will resume at 2 o'clock. As people filed out, Darius found himself alone with Selena and the triplets in a small conference room. The silence was thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, Selena spoke. The charges are serious, Darius. I could go to jail. What exactly happened? She sighed, suddenly looking older than her 45 years. When the kids were in high school, I was working 2 jobs, but it still wasn't enough. The forms for assistance asked about household income. I included my job at the diner, but forgot about the cash I made babysitting. It was only a few $100s, but it made you ineligible for help, Darius finished. When they found out, they said I'd been lying for 3 years. They want me to pay back $12,000 and serve 6 months. That's insane. You made an honest mistake. The prosecutor doesn't see it that way. Selena's voice was tired. He says I'm an example of welfare fraud. Michaela spoke up. We've been trying to raise money for a better lawyer, but you're all just starting your lives, Darius said. You shouldn't have to choose between your futures and your mother's freedom. Marcus crossed his arms. So what? You're going to swoop in and save the day. I'm going to try. Why now? Matthew asked. Why do you suddenly care? Darius was quiet for a moment. Because I spent 26 years telling myself I made the right choice. That leaving was better for everyone. But watching you 3 today, seeing the people you became, I realize I was wrong about everything. Being wrong doesn't fix anything, Michaela said. No, but maybe doing right from now on could help. Selena was watching him carefully. You really think you can just step into our lives? Be a father? Whatever you think you want to be. There was something in her voice. Not just anger. Something else. I don't know, Darius admitted. I've never been a father. I don't know how to do any of this. But I want to learn. We don't need you to learn on us, Marcus said. But Matthew was looking thoughtful. Mom, what if he could really help? What if he could make the charges go away? At what cost? Michaela asked. What happens when he gets bored and leaves again? I won't leave, Darius said. You don't know that, Selena said softly. You left me once when things got scary. How do I know you won't do it again? The question hit him hard because he couldn't answer it. Not really. You don't, he said finally. You just have to decide if it's worth the risk. Selena looked at her children. What do you think? The triplets huddled together, whispering. Darius watched them, amazed by how in sync they were, how they moved like parts of the same person. Finally, Michaela spoke. We'll make a deal. I'm listening. You help Mom. Get her the best lawyer. Make this go away. But you don't get to be our dad just because you pay for something. What do I get? Nothing, Marcus said. You get nothing except the chance to prove you're not the same selfish person who ran away. And if I prove it? Matthew shrugged. Then maybe we'll talk. It wasn't much, but it was more than Darius deserved. Deal, he said. Selena was still watching him with those careful eyes. There's something else. If you're going to be around, if you're going to help, you need to know the truth about why I'm really here. What do you mean? She looked at her children, then back at him. The fraud charges aren't the whole story, Darius. Someone's been watching us, following us, asking questions about you. Darius felt his blood chill. What kind of questions? About whether you knew about the kids. About whether you'd ever tried to contact us. About your business dealings. Who's asking? We don't know. But whoever it is, they're the reason the state suddenly decided to prosecute me for a 3-year-old paperwork mistake. The room went cold. Someone knew about his children. Someone was using them to get to him. And Darius had a sinking feeling he knew exactly who it was. Have you ever discovered that something you thought was random was actually part of a bigger plan? Share your thoughts below, because someone's been pulling strings, and they're not done yet. Who do you think it is? Selena asked. Darius ran his hands through his hair. His mind was racing through enemies, business rivals, anyone who might want to hurt him. There's a lot of people who don't like me, he said. I've stepped on some toes building my empire. This isn't about business, Michaela said quietly. Whoever's doing this, they know things. Personal things. Like what? Matthew pulled out his phone. 3 weeks ago, someone came to my college asking questions. Said they were writing an article about successful single mothers. Asked about Mom's past relationships. Marcus nodded. Same thing happened at my job. Guy said he was doing research on families who overcame poverty. But he kept asking weird questions about whether Mom ever mentioned our father. And last month, Selena said, someone broke into our apartment. Nothing was stolen, but they went through my old photos. Letters. Personal stuff. Darius felt sick. They were looking for proof that you and that the kids were mine. But why? Selena asked. What's the point? Before Darius could answer, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your email. Time to talk. VR. VR, Darius whispered. What? Selena leaned closer. Vincent Romano. Darius's face went white. My former business partner. He opened his email with shaking hands. There was a message with photo attachments. Darius, imagine my surprise discovering you have a secret family. Click the photos. We need to meet. Tonight. Alone. Or tomorrow the whole world learns about your abandoned children and their criminal mother. Vincent. The first photo made Darius's blood freeze. It was him leaving Selena's apartment 26 years ago, a young man with a suitcase and a cold expression. The second photo was recent. Selena walking into the courthouse this morning. The third photo was the triplets at their jobs, at school, completely unaware they were being watched. "Oh my God," Selena breathed, looking over his shoulder. "Who is Vincent Romano?" Marcus asked. Darius closed his eyes. "My first business partner. We started a tech company together 15 years ago. When it took off, I forced him out. Took everything." "You stole his company?" Michaela's voice was sharp. "It wasn't stealing. It was business. He made some bad decisions and You screwed him over," Matthew finished. "Yes," Darius admitted. "I screwed him over. And now he wants revenge." Selena sat down heavily. "He's using us to get back at you. The fraud charges, the timing, everything. He set it up." Darius was pacing now. He probably bribed someone to dig up the old paperwork mistake and push for prosecution. "So Mom's going to jail because of something you did?" Marcus's voice was dangerous. "No, I won't let that happen. How are you going to stop it?" Michaela demanded. "He has photos. Proof. If this gets out." She didn't finish, but they all knew what she meant. The scandal would destroy Darius's reputation. But more than that, it would destroy their privacy. The triplets would become tabloid stories. Selena would be painted as the woman who trapped a billionaire. "There has to be something we can do," Matthew said. Darius read the email again. "He wants to meet tonight." "Alone?" "Absolutely not," Selena said firmly. "I have to. It's the only way to protect you. Protect us." She stood up, anger flashing in her eyes. "You think we need your protection? We've been taking care of ourselves just fine. This is different. Vincent is dangerous. More dangerous than losing my freedom? More dangerous than my children's lives being destroyed by reporters." They stared at each other across the small room. The triplets watched their parents like they were seeing something they'd never expected. "You're scared," Selena said softly. "Of course I'm scared. I just found my family. I'm not losing them again." "You never had us to lose," Marcus pointed out. But Selena was still looking at Darius with those careful eyes. "What aren't you telling us?" Darius hesitated. "Darius, what else did Vincent take from you?" "It's not what he took. It's what I took from him." "Besides the company?" Darius looked away. "His brother." The room went silent. "Vincent's younger brother Tony worked for us. He was a good kid, just out of college. When I forced Vincent out, Tony stayed loyal to him. He tried to take some files, company secrets, to help Vincent start over." "What happened?" Selena's voice was barely a whisper. "I had him arrested. Corporate espionage. He got 5 years in prison." Michaela gasped. 5 years. Tony killed himself in his cell 6 months later. Left a note saying he couldn't handle the shame. The silence that followed was deafening. "Jesus, Darius," Selena breathed. "Vincent blames me for his brother's death. And he's right to." Matthew was staring at him with new eyes. "You destroyed his family." "Yes. And now he's trying to destroy ours," Marcus said. "Yes." Selena walked to the window, looking out at the parking lot. "So this was never about Mom's paperwork mistake. This was always about you." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She turned around. "Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't get me out of jail. Sorry doesn't protect my children from whatever Vincent has planned. I'll fix this. I promise." "How?" "I don't know yet. But I will." Selena studied his face for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She walked over and touched his face gently. "You look tired," she said. The simple kindness in her voice nearly broke him. "I've been tired for 26 years, he admitted. "Why did you really leave, Darius?" "The truth this time." He looked at the triplets, then back at her. "Because I was a coward. Because I was terrified of being poor again. Because I thought I could only love one thing at a time, and I chose success over you. And now I know success without family is just expensive loneliness." Selena's hand was still on his face. For a moment, it felt like they were 19 again, young and in love and full of hope. "Mom," Michaela said quietly, "we need to decide what we're doing." Selena dropped her hand and stepped back. The moment was broken. "Vincent wants to meet you tonight," she said. "Where?" "I'm not telling you. I'm going alone." "No, you're not," Marcus said. "If this guy is as dangerous as you say, you need backup." "I don't need." "Yes, you do," Matthew interrupted. "You need us." Darius looked at his children, really looked at them. They were young, but they weren't kids. They were strong, smart, and they weren't backing down. "This could get ugly," he warned. "We can handle ugly," Michaela said. "We've been handling it our whole lives." Selena was watching them all with something that looked like pride and terror mixed together. "If we do this," she said, "we do it together. All of us." "Selena, it's too dangerous." "Don't." Her voice was sharp. "Don't you dare try to protect me by shutting me out. Not again." The words hit him like a physical blow. She was right. He'd run away once to protect her from his fears. He wouldn't make that mistake again. "Together then," he said. "Together," the triplets agreed. As they started planning, Darius realized something that made his chest tight with an emotion he couldn't name. For the first time in 26 years, he wasn't facing his problems alone. He had a family. The question was, would they all survive the night? When someone threatens the people you love, how far would you go to protect them? Let me know in the comments below. The meeting was set for midnight at Vincent's old warehouse on the edge of town. Darius sat in his car, watching the building through the rain. The triplets were hidden across the street. Selena was supposed to be back at the hotel, but Darius knew she wouldn't stay away. His phone buzzed. "Vincent, come alone. Back entrance. No games." Darius took a deep breath and got out of the car. The warehouse smelled like rust and old machinery. Vincent was waiting in the middle of the empty space, surrounded by shadows. He looked older than Darius remembered. Thinner. Angrier. "Hello, Darius." "Vincent, you look good. Rich. Success suits you. What do you want?" Vincent laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What do I want? I want my brother back. I want my company back. I want the last 15 years of my life back. I can't give you any of that. No, but I can take something from you." Vincent snapped his fingers. 3 men stepped out of the shadows. Big men with mean faces. "You have a choice," Vincent said. "Sign over 50% of your company to me, and I let this whole thing disappear. The photos, the charges against your girlfriend, everything." "Selena's not my girlfriend." "No. Then what is she? The mother of your bastard children? The woman you abandoned?" Darius's hands clenched into fists. "Leave them out of this. They're already in it. In fact..." Vincent pulled out his phone. "They're more involved than you think." The screen showed security camera footage. The triplets sneaking around the warehouse, trying to find another way in. "Your kids are brave. Stupid but brave. If you hurt them, you'll what? You're not exactly in a position to make threats." That's when Darius heard it. A scream. "Marcus!" It was Michaela's voice, coming from somewhere in the building. Vincent smiled. "Oops. Looks like your boy got a little too curious." Darius started forward, but the 3 men blocked his path. "Sign the papers first," Vincent said, pulling out a contract. "Then you can go save your precious family." Another scream. This time it was Matthew. "What are you doing to them?" "Nothing permanent. Yet. But every minute you waste is another minute they're in pain." Darius looked at the contract. 50% of everything he'd built. Billions of dollars. "How do I know you'll let them go?" "You don't. But it's the only chance they have. More sounds from the building. Fighting. Shouting. Someone crying. Darius grabbed the pen. Then all the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in red. Vincent's men were confused, looking around. "What the hell?" Vincent started. That's when Selena walked out of the shadows. "Surprise," she said. But she wasn't alone. Judge David was with her, and half a dozen police officers. "Vincent Romano," David said, "you're under arrest." "For what?" "Kidnapping, extortion, bribery. Oh, and stalking." David smiled. "Turns out my sister's been recording all your little surveillance activities." Selena held up her phone. "Every threatening text, every creepy photo, every illegal thing you've done." Vincent's face twisted with rage. "You can't prove anything." "Actually, we can." The triplets appeared from the back of the warehouse. All three of them, alive and unhurt. "The screaming was fake," Marcus said with a grin. "We're pretty good actors," Michaela added. "Drama club," Matthew explained. Vincent stared at them in shock. "But the security cameras." "Show us exactly where we want it to be," Selena said. "We've been planning this all afternoon." Darius looked around in amazement. "You set this up?" "We set this up," Selena corrected. "All of us." But Vincent wasn't done. As the police moved to arrest him, he pulled out a gun. "If I can't have my revenge, then nobody gets anything." He pointed it straight at Selena. "No!" Darius threw himself forward. The gun went off. Time slowed down. Darius felt the bullet hit his shoulder, spinning him around. He hit the concrete hard, his head bouncing off the floor. Everything went dark for a moment. When he opened his eyes, Vincent was on the ground with 3 police officers on top of him. The triplets were standing over Darius, their faces white with fear. "Dad!" Michaela whispered. It was the first time any of them had called him that. "I'm okay," he tried to say, but blood was pooling under his shoulder. Selena was kneeling beside him, pressing something against the wound. "You idiot! You could have been killed. Had to protect you. The police had him. You didn't need to." "Yes, I did." Darius looked up at her face. "I needed to." She was crying. "Why?" "Because I love you. I never stopped loving you." Selena's tears fell on his face. "You left me. Biggest mistake of my life." The ambulance sirens were getting closer. Darius could feel himself getting weaker. "Selena," he whispered. "Don't talk. Save your strength. Need to tell you something." She leaned closer. "The company, it's yours now. All of it." "What?" "Changed my will. This afternoon. You and the kids. Everything's yours." "Darius, you're not dying. Stop talking like. If something happens, you'll never have to worry about money again." The EMTs arrived, pushing everyone back. As they worked on him, Darius kept his eyes on his family. His real family. The triplets were holding each other, watching him with fear and something else. Something that looked like love. Selena was arguing with the EMTs, demanding to ride in the ambulance. David was handling the arrest, but his eyes kept finding Darius with grudging respect. As they loaded him onto the stretcher, Darius realized something. He might die tonight. The bullet had done more damage than he was letting on. He could feel it. But for the first time in 26 years, he wasn't afraid. He'd finally done something right. He'd protected his family. The ambulance doors closed, and everything went black. But in the darkness, he could still hear Michaela's voice calling him Dad. It was enough. Darius woke up in a hospital bed 3 days later. The first thing he saw was Marcus asleep in a chair beside him. The second thing he saw was get-well cards covering every surface in the room. "Hey!" he whispered. Marcus's eyes snapped open. "Dad, you're awake." He jumped up and ran to the door. "Mom! Michaela! Matthew! He's awake!" Within seconds, The room was full of people. Selena rushed to his bedside, followed by the other triplets. Judge David was there too, looking tired but relieved. "How long was I out?" Darius asked. 3 days, Selena said, checking his forehead for fever. "The bullet nicked an artery. You lost a lot of blood. But I'm okay." "You will be." She squeezed his hand. "The doctor says full recovery in 6 weeks." Michaela bounced on her toes. "We have good news." "And bad news," Matthew added. "Good news first," Darius said. "Vincent confessed," David said. "To everything. The bribery, the stalking, setting up your mom's fraud charges. He's looking at 15 to 20 years. What's the bad news?" Selena bit her lip. "The story leaked. About us. About you having kids you never knew about." Darius felt his stomach drop. "How bad?" Marcus held up his phone. The headline read, "Billionaire's secret family drama ends in shooting." "It's everywhere," Matthew said. "TV, newspapers, internet. Everyone's talking about it." "I'm sorry," Darius said. "I know you wanted to keep your privacy." "Actually," Michaela said with a grin, "we don't mind." "What?" "People are being really supportive," she explained. "They think Mom's a hero for raising us alone. And they think you're brave for taking a bullet to protect us." Selena rolled her eyes. "They're calling it the most romantic comeback story of the year." "Romantic?" "The whole thing about you never stopping loving Mom, changing your will, risking your life." Matthew shrugged. "People eat that stuff up." David cleared his throat. "There's something else. Good news this time." "What?" 3 companies have offered the kids full scholarships. Marcus got a football offer from state. Michaela's been invited to join a pre-med program. Matthew got into the journalism school he wanted. Darius felt tears in his eyes. "That's amazing." "And," Selena added quietly, "someone wants to make a movie about our story." "Seriously?" "Seriously. They offered enough money to pay for college, a new house, and everything else we'll ever need." Darius tried to sit up, wincing as pain shot through his shoulder. "You don't need their money. I meant what I said about my will. Everything I have is yours now." "About that." Selena looked uncomfortable. "What?" "We talked about it. All of us. And we don't want your money." Darius stared at her. "What?" "We don't want your billions," Marcus said. "We want you. But the will, the security." "Keep your money," Michaela interrupted. "Use it to do good things. Help other families like ours. But don't think you can buy your way into being our dad." "I don't understand." Matthew sat on the edge of the bed. "We've been fine without money our whole lives. Mom taught us that love and family are worth more than anything you can buy. But I want to take care of you. I want to make up for." "You can't," Selena said softly. "You can't make up for 26 years. But you can be here for the next 26 years." Darius felt something crack open in his chest. Not pain this time. Something else. Hope. "You'd want that? After everything?" "We're willing to try," Selena said. "If you are." "What about your trust issues? What about me running away when things get hard?" She smiled. "You took a bullet for us, Darius. I think that proves you're not running anywhere." David stepped forward. "There's one more thing. The fraud charges against Selena have been dropped. Officially, it was due to prosecutorial misconduct. Unofficially, Vincent's confession proved the whole thing was a setup." "So Mom's free?" Marcus asked. "Completely free." The room erupted in cheers. The triplets hugged each other, then their mom, then somewhat awkwardly, Darius. "Careful of the shoulder," he laughed. But he didn't really care about the pain. For the first time in his adult life, he was surrounded by people who loved him for who he was, not what he could give them. "So what happens now?" he asked. Selena sat on the bed beside him. "Now we figure out how to be a family." "I don't know how to do that." None of us do. We'll learn together. It won't be easy. I've been alone for a long time. I've got habits, ways of thinking. We'll help you change, Michaela said. And if I mess up, you will mess up, Matthew said matter-of-factly. We all will. That's what families do. The difference is, Marcus added, families don't give up on each other. Darius looked around the room at these incredible people who were giving him a second chance he didn't deserve. I love you, he said. All of you. We know, Selena said. That's why we're here. She leaned down and kissed his forehead gently. Now get some rest. We've got a lifetime to figure this out. As the room cleared out and visiting hours ended, Selena was the last to leave. Selena. She turned back. Do you think we could try again? You and me. She was quiet for a long moment. I think, she said finally, that some love stories are worth a second chance. After she left, Darius lay in the dark, listening to the sounds of the hospital around him. For 26 years, he'd been running towards something he thought would make him happy. Turns out, happiness had been waiting for him to stop running and come home. Tomorrow, he'd start learning how to be a father. Tomorrow, he'd start learning how to be part of a family. Tomorrow, he'd start the hardest and most important job of his life. But tonight, for the first time in decades, Darius Holt fell asleep with a smile on his face. What's the most important lesson you've learned about what really matters in life? Share it below, because this family is about to discover that the best things in life can't be bought. 2 weeks later, Darius was sitting in his office when his assistant burst through the door. Mr. Holt, we have a problem. Darius looked up from the family photo he'd been staring at, the first picture ever taken of all 5 of them together. What kind of problem? Vincent's lawyer is holding a press conference. He's claiming Vincent was framed. Says you set him up to get rid of a business rival. Darius felt his blood run cold. That's impossible. Vincent confessed. He's saying you forced the confession. That you threatened his family. The TV in his office was already showing the news conference. Vincent's slick lawyer stood behind a podium, surrounded by reporters. My client was coerced into a false confession, the lawyer was saying. Mr. Holt used his wealth and influence to frame an innocent man. The real story is that Darius Holt abandoned his pregnant girlfriend 26 years ago, and when she tried to get support for their children, he had her charged with fraud to silence her. Darius grabbed his phone and called Selena. Are you watching this? She answered. Yeah. I'm coming to get you and the kids. We need to get somewhere safe. No. Selena, this guy is twisting everything. People might believe. I said no, Darius. We're not running. But if people think you tried to blackmail me, then we'll tell them the truth. Darius was quiet. Are you afraid people will find out what really happened? Selena asked. I'm afraid they'll think less of you. Of the kids. We can handle what people think. The question is, can you? An hour later, they were all sitting in the conference room at Darius's company. His PR team was panicking. We need to control this story, his publicist said. Distance yourself from the family. Make it clear this was all a misunderstanding. Absolutely not, Darius said. Sir, with respect, your stock price has dropped 15% in the last hour. Your board is calling emergency meetings. If you don't separate yourself from this situation, then they can fire me. Everyone in the room stared at him. Dad, Marcus said quietly, you don't have to destroy your life for us. I'm not destroying anything. I'm choosing what matters. His publicist tried again. Mr. Holt, if Vincent's lawyer convinces people that you're some kind of deadbeat dad who abandoned his family and then tried to cover it up, then they'll be right, Darius interrupted. Because that's exactly what I did. The room went silent. I did abandon my family. I was a coward who chose money over love. And if I hadn't been so selfish, Vincent never would have been able to use them against me. Selena reached over and took his hand. But here's what Vincent's lawyer isn't telling you, Darius continued. These 3 kids and their mother are the most incredible people I've ever met. They raised themselves to be honest, brave, and kind while I was off playing businessman. They don't need me to rescue them. They rescued me. Michaela was crying. Dad! I want to hold a press conference, Darius announced. Tonight. All of us together. His PR team looked horrified. Sir, that's not advisable. I don't care about advisable. I care about the truth. That evening, reporters packed the hotel conference room. Cameras flashed as Darius walked to the podium with his family beside him. 26 years ago, I made the worst decision of my life, he began. I walked away from the woman I loved and 3 children I'll never stop regretting I didn't know. The reporters scribbled notes frantically. Vincent Romano is right about one thing. I am the man who abandoned his pregnant girlfriend. I am the man who chose business over family. I am the man who spent decades building an empire while the people I should have loved most struggled without me. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But Vincent is wrong about why we're here today. We're not here because Selena tried to blackmail me. We're here because she and my children are better people than I ever deserved. They're giving me a second chance I don't deserve, but that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn. He stepped back and gestured to his family. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to see what I see when I look at them. Strength, love, hope. Everything I threw away and everything I'm grateful to have found again. Selena stepped forward. I'd like to say something. She looked directly into the cameras. I'm not a victim. I'm not a hero. I'm just a mother who did what mothers do. I took care of my children. Yes, Darius left me pregnant and scared. But my kids never suffered for it because I didn't let them. Marcus joined her at the podium. We didn't grow up rich, but we grew up loved. Matthew stepped forward. We didn't have a father, but we had each other. Michaela was last. And now we have a chance to have both. Love and a father. We're not going to waste it. A reporter shouted a question. Are you worried people will think this is all fake? A publicity stunt. Darius looked at his family, then back at the cameras. Anyone who thinks this is fake doesn't understand what real love looks like. He turned to Selena. I have something I should have said 26 years ago. Then, in front of the cameras and reporters and the whole world, Darius Holt got down on one knee. Selena Ward, I know I don't deserve it. I know I'm 26 years too late. But will you marry me? The room erupted. Cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted questions. But all Darius could see was Selena's face. She was crying and laughing at the same time. Yes, she whispered. Then louder. Yes. The triplets tackled them both in a group hug right there on the stage. The cameras caught it all. The tears, the laughter, the pure joy of a family that had finally found each other. Later that night, back at the hotel, they watched the news coverage together. Stock price is up 30%, Marcus reported, checking his phone. Apparently people like the story. 3 movie studios are bidding for the rights, Matthew added. And someone started a hashtag, Michaela said. Hashtag Second Chance Family. It's trending worldwide. Darius shook his head in amazement. A week ago I thought I'd lost everything. Now you have everything that matters, Selena finished. They were sitting on the couch in Selena's hotel room, all 5 of them squeezed together like they'd been doing it their whole lives. What happens next? Darius asked. Well, Selena said, first we plan a wedding. Then we figure out where to live, Michaela said. Your penthouse or mom's apartment? Neither, Darius said. We find a house. Together. Somewhere we can all be comfortable. What about your business? Marcus asked. I'm keeping it, but I'm changing how I run it. More time for family. More money for people who need help. More of what matters. Matthew grinned. Think you can handle being a regular dad? I don't know, but I'm going to try. As they sat there together, watching their story play out on every news channel, Darius realized something that made his chest tight with happiness. He'd spent his whole life running toward success. Turns out, success had been waiting for him to come home. What would you risk everything for? Tell me in the comments below. 6 months later, Darius stood at the altar of a small church, watching Selena walk down the aisle. She wore a simple white dress and carried flowers from their new garden. The triplets walked beside her, not giving her away, but joining their parents together as a family. The church was packed, but not with billionaires or business partners. The guests were teachers from the kids' schools, neighbors from Selena's old apartment building, and workers from Darius's company who'd become like family over the years. Judge David was officiating, and he couldn't stop smiling. 26 years ago, he began, I watched my sister's heart break when the man she loved walked away. Today, I get to watch that same heart heal. Darius felt tears in his eyes as Selena reached him. You look beautiful, he whispered. You look nervous, she whispered back. Terrified, he admitted. Good. That means you know how important this is. David cleared his throat. Before we begin, Selena and Darius have something they want to share. Selena nodded to the triplets. Marcus handed her an envelope. 6 months ago, she said, we were strangers who happened to share DNA. But family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about choosing to love each other every day, even when it's hard. She opened the envelope and pulled out adoption papers. Darius, these are for you. If you want them. Darius looked at the papers. Legal documents that would make him officially the father of 3 amazing young adults who'd grown up fine without him. Are you sure? He asked the triplets. We've been sure for months, Michaela said. You've proven you're not going anywhere, Marcus added. And we want the same last name when we graduate, Matthew grinned. With shaking hands, Darius signed the papers. Now, David said, let's make this official. The ceremony was simple. No fancy words or elaborate promises. Just 2 people who'd found their way back to each other, surrounded by the family they'd built from broken pieces. When David said, you may kiss the bride, the whole church erupted in cheers. Later, at the reception in their backyard, Darius found himself watching his new life unfold. Marcus was dancing with his girlfriend Sarah, a sweet girl from college who treated him like gold. His football scholarship had led to offers from 3 NFL teams. Michaela was showing her acceptance letter to medical school to anyone who'd listen. She wanted to be a pediatric surgeon. To help kids like we used to be, she told him. Matthew was taking photos for the local newspaper, preparing for his internship at a major magazine. His story about their family had won a national writing contest. And Selena. Selena was glowing. She'd started her own nonprofit, helping single mothers navigate the system. The work was hard but fulfilling in a way her old jobs had never been. Penny for your thoughts, she said, joining him by the garden. Just thinking about how different everything is. Good different or scary different? Both. He pulled her close. A year ago, the most important thing in my life was a board meeting. Now I know what I was missing. They watched the triplets laughing with their friends, surrounded by people who loved them. Any regrets? Selena asked. About leaving. Every day. About coming back. Never. Even though your life is completely different now? Darius thought about it. He still ran his company, but differently. He'd cut his hours in half. Donated billions to education and family services. Moved his office closer to home so he could coach Matthew's weekend basketball league. His old business partners thought he'd lost his mind. His new life had cost him some friendships and a few deals. But every morning, he woke up in a house full of laughter. Every evening, he sat at a dinner table with people who knew his worst stories and loved him anyway. It's better, he said finally. Everything is better. Even the chaos. The noise. The teenagers eating all our food. Especially that. Marcus jogged over, slightly out of breath from dancing. Dad, Mom said you might have something to tell us? The other triplets appeared, curious. Darius and Selena exchanged glances. We do, Selena said. But maybe we should wait until... Tell us now, Michaela interrupted. You're both grinning like you have a secret. Darius took a deep breath. Well, you're going to be big brothers and sister. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then chaos. What? Are you serious? We're having a baby? The triplets tackled their parents in a group hug that nearly knocked them over. When? Matthew demanded. 7 months, Selena laughed. Do you know if it's a boy or girl? Michaela asked. Not yet. This is insane, Marcus said, but he was grinning. We're going to be the oldest siblings ever. Think you can handle it? Darius asked. Are you kidding? We've been practicing our whole lives, Matthew said. As the party continued around them, Darius found himself thinking about the future. A new baby. The triplets starting their careers. Growing old with Selena. Grandchildren someday. A life he'd never planned but couldn't imagine living without. Hey, Selena said, nudging him. What are you thinking about now? Time. What about it? I spent 26 years running from what I wanted most. I don't want to waste another minute. She kissed him softly. Then don't. Later that night, after the guests had gone home and the triplets had collapsed in their rooms, Darius and Selena sat on their porch swing. Do you think we'll be okay? She asked. All of us together? I think we'll be everything. Even when the baby comes and life gets even crazier? Especially then. Selena leaned against his shoulder. I love you, Darius Holt. I love you too, Selena Holt. The name still sounded like a miracle. As they sat there in the quiet darkness, surrounded by the life they'd built together, Darius thought about a conversation he'd had with Marcus the week before. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd stayed 26 years ago? Marcus had asked. Darius had considered it. We probably would have been poor, struggling, maybe not made it. So maybe things happened the way they were supposed to? Maybe. Or maybe some mistakes are just lucky enough to get second chances. Now, holding his wife and thinking about their children sleeping safely inside, Darius knew one thing for certain. Some love stories don't have perfect beginnings, but they can have perfect endings. And this was just the beginning. What's the best second chance you've ever been given, and how did it change your life? Share your story in the comments, because everyone deserves the chance to come home to the love they thought they'd lost forever.